Jake here for American Trucks, and today I'm taking a look at the Volant closed box cold air intake with the MaxFlow 5 oiled filter for 2019 to 2022 5.3 liter Silverado 1500s. If you've got a newer model 5.3 liter Silverado and you're looking to pick up something that will improve the sound and the drivability of your truck without the need for a tune, all while being relatively headache free, this option from Volant is going to be an excellent choice for you. Now there are a few standout features here, but I want to start with what is perhaps the most obvious, and that is the closed air box. Similar in concept to your stock setup, having the closed air box like this helps keep the intake from pulling in hot air from all around the engine bay, and instead just pulls cooler air in from the outside. Cooler air is more dense, and more air density means better combustion, and better combustion means more power. You're also going to get a bigger volume of air coming through this filter and the intake tube versus your stock air box. Now Volant does include a high velocity Venturi filter adapter, which is right here, to help aid in that transition from the filter into the intake tube. It's going to smooth out the airflow and allow the engine to breathe nice. Volant also includes a high velocity Venturi filter adapter right here at the base of the filter itself, and that is to smooth out the airflow going through the filter into the intake tube. So it's going to smooth it out and speed up the flow going into the engine. However, airflow is only as good as the filter attached to it, and in the box, you also get one of Volant's MaxFlow 5 air filters. Now it comes just like this, already ready to go. Now this is an oiled filter, as opposed to a dry filter like you have in your stock setup. Oiled filters are great for trapping dirt and dust out on the street, and this one in particular features multiple layers of cotton gauze to blend airflow with filtration. And these deep pleats that you can see here really provide a ton of surface area to help catch any unwanted particles and maximize that airflow. Oiled filters are known to provide really high airflow, and that layer of oil on the outside of the filter is also super sticky, so it can even catch particulates that might otherwise slip through a dry filter. And the best part about all of that is that these are reusable, so you can take this out, wash it, re-oil it, pop it right back into your truck. Volant claims that you can go up to 25,000 miles between cleanings, but that will of course depend on where you live and the conditions under which you use your truck. Now you may have noticed it already, but there's also something else unique about this airbox that's meant to help you figure out when you need to service that filter. That is this clear plexiglass window at the top of the box. Not only does it look really cool, but it also allows you to check on the health and cleanliness of your filter without having to disassemble anything. Just pop the hood of your truck and there it is. Then we also have the intake tube itself, which is this big ABS plastic unit. Unlike most stock intakes, there's no accordion joints here, so it's totally smooth, which means it's gonna flow well, and it's gonna give you some added sound when you put the pedal down. So between the resonance of this and the airbox itself, you're gonna get a really nice growl when you open up the throttle. And that's the best part about intakes, is that you get that sound, but it's not obtrusive at all when you're just cruising around under partial throttle. You really are only gonna start to hear it when you get to bury in the throttle. So, how much is this all going to cost? Well, around $350 is the answer, and that's pretty closely aligned with other closed box air intakes on the market for these trucks. It is going to give you a different driving experience than stock, as well as that additional sound and airflow. And like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, a tune is not required with this one. However, if you are looking to extract the most out of this kind of setup or any kind of engine modification, a custom tune is going to be the way to go. Now, as far as installation is concerned, this is going to get a 1 out of 3 on our difficulty meter. It's a simple bolt-in install that should take you around an hour to get completed. Everything you need to get the job done is in the box, including the adapters here for the tube in the box, new hose for the PCV, and all the clamps that you need to do it. This is definitely a job you can accomplish at home with hand tools, and to show you just how to get it done, let's head to the install bay now and we'll show you the process.
The tools you're going to need for this installation include an impact gun or ratchets. I'll be using a 3/8 and 1/4 inch drive, long and short extensions, an 8mm socket, a 3/8 to 1/4 adapter, a T20 torque socket, and Phillips and flathead screwdrivers. What's going on, guys? Today I'm going to show you how to install a Volant cold air intake on your 19 and newer Silverado or Sierra 1500. Now, we've previously uninstalled the factory airbox, so I'm going to send you to that clip first, then I'll be back to walk you through the install. All right, first step, we're going to remove the mass airflow plug. To do so, we're going to use a flathead screwdriver, slide the safety pin out of the way here, and then it's a push clip, so you just push down and slide the connector off. Next, let's locate the vent hose that's located on the back of the intake plenum. We've got to remove that. To do so, we just push in this gray clip right here and pull straight back. Next, we're going to loosen up the clamps that hold the intake plenum to the air box. One clamp is right here. And then the other clamp that holds the intake plenum to the throttle body, which is right in here. It's hard to see on camera, but I'll give you a general idea when I put my tool down there. To loosen these clamps, we're going to use an 8mm socket with an extension and an impact or a ratchet. Next, we can pull the plenum off of the throttle body and then pull it off of the airbox. Now it's removed, we can get it out of the engine bay and out of the way. Now we're going to remove the screws that are holding in the upper part of the airbox to the lower portion. To remove those, we're using an 8mm socket with an extension. And there's 3 in total, so there's one, the second one is here. And the third one is hard to see on camera, but it is back here by the coolant overflow tank. Once the screws are out, you just have to tilt it up in order to get these tabs out of the lower air box. And the third screw that you couldn't see is right here. With the upper portion of the airbox off, we're going to remove this filter as it's going to be replaced. So we have the factory airbox out of the truck, and there are a couple pre-assembly steps that I need to walk you through before we put the Volant intake into our truck. So let's get started. First thing we're going to do is remove the MAF from our factory airbox. To do that, we need a T20 torque socket and a ratchet. And these screws should be in there pretty loosely. This is a fragile piece of electronics, so you want to make sure that you're careful when uninstalling and reinstalling. 2 screws, and then it slides right out. Now that that's out, we can move our factory airbox out of the way. All right, now to install the MAF sensor into the Volant intake, take this supplied gasket, put it onto the MAF sensor, like so. It does have to be oriented in this position. Then slide the MAF sensor into the intake with the connector facing the numbers you see here. And to secure the MAF, use the 2 supplied screws, thread them in just a couple threads to get it started. Makes it easier to line up the holes if you don't tighten one down before you get the other one in. And they are Phillips drive, so I'm going to use a Phillips head screwdriver just to snug them down. Like I said previously, this is a fragile piece of electronic equipment, so make sure you're not over tightening. So you'll know you're tight enough when you can see that the gasket has just a little bit of squish to it. And you're good there. Next, we have to install the filter with the supplied clamp onto the filter adapter in our airbox. And to tighten down the clamp, we're using an 8mm socket and ratchet. Just make sure your filter is seated flush. And you're good to go. Now we're going to install our hump hose onto our airbox using one of the supplied clamps. Now there are 3 larger size clamps and 1 smaller size clamp that come in the kit. Make sure you're using one of the larger size clamps. I'm going to place my clamp on the hump hose first, and we want to make sure that we orient the clamp in a way that's going to make it easier to get to when we do install the box in the truck. So I'm going to put it this way. Put it onto the filter adapter, and with our 8mm socket, just going to snug it down a little bit. Now I am only going to tighten this down just a little bit, as when I get it into the truck, I'm probably going to want to rotate the clamp just to make it easier to get to. Now that we're done our pre-assembly, we're gonna start installing our components into the truck, and we're gonna start right here by the throttle body. All right, with our pre-assembly done, we're here at the truck again, at the throttle body, and we're gonna install the reducer hose. So the smaller end of the reducer hose is gonna go onto the throttle body, and we're gonna use one of the supplied clamps to secure it down. This is the smaller of the two sizes of clamps, so make sure you got the smaller one. Slide the clamp over the reducer hose, and I like to orient it in this position just to make it easier to get to. Then slide the reducer hose onto the throttle body. Make sure it's nice and flush with this tab that's back here. Kind of hard to see on camera, but this tab right here will show you that you are flush against the throttle body. Position your clamp to make it easy for you to get to. And with our 8mm socket and ratchet, we're gonna snug it down. All right, now we're gonna install our Volant airbox into our lower factory airbox. A couple things I wanna point out before we do that. There's 3 holes of the Volant airbox, 1, 2, and 3. And they line up with the corresponding holes here, 1, 2, and 3. And also, these 3 tabs in the back of the Volant airbox are gonna line up with the 3 holes in the back of our factory lower airbox. So let's slide those tabs in first. Line up our holes. And we're using the factory screws that came out of the airbox. And our 8mm socket and ratchet. For the other 2 screws, I did grab another extension just so I could reach back here as they are buried a little deeper. And then for the last screw, back here by the coolant overflow tank. Again, it's a little tight, but with the longer extension, shouldn't have any problems screwing it in. Next, we're going to install the supplied breather/vent hose. If the factory vent hose got left behind during uninstall like ours did, just push in the gray tab that's at the bottom of the connector, slide it out, and this is the gray tab right here that I'm talking about, so you just press that in, pull up. The supplied hose just slides right over the factory fitting. Then this end will go into the Volant air intake pipe. Next, we're going to install our Volant air intake pipe using the remaining 2 clamps. So I'm going to put the clamps over our hoses first. Then I'm going to take the pipe and put the airbox side in first. I like to put that side in first because it gives you a little bit more wiggle room to get the throttle body side in. And you might just have to wiggle the pipe around a little bit just to get it into the throttle body hose. And this one went in relatively easy. Next, we have to tighten down our clamps. And I'm just positioning this to make it easier to get to. Might actually have to loosen that a little bit before we tighten it. And again, we're using our 8mm socket and ratchet. So I'm just loosening it a little bit to make it easier to position. Make sure you feel around the clamp. Make sure it's relatively square to the reducer hose and snug it down. Right, and we have clamp on this side yet. Same thing, just make sure you're nice and square to the hose. You can press in a little bit on the pipe while you're tightening it down so it stays seated properly. All right guys, last couple steps here. Very important, make sure we plug our mask connector back in. Slide the safety clip into place so that doesn't come out. Then we're gonna move over to our vent hose. And this vent hose adapter here does move around. Position it properly and simply slide into place. Now mine came off on this end. Make sure you get it on there firmly. We're good to go. That's going to wrap up this review and install of the Volant closed box cold air intake with the MaxFlow 5 oiled filter for your 19 and newer 5.3 liter Silverado or Sierra 1500. Thanks for watching, and for all things Silverado and Sierra, keep it right here at AmericanTrucks.com.